Hi, I'm Brad Dacus. Welcome to Faith and Law. This time of year, we have our big annual gala coming up. It's called our Celebration of Justice. And if you're in town on October the 19th, you're not going to want to miss it. We have Judge Janine Pirro. She's our keynote speaker. She's on the 5 on Fox News, very outspoken, and she's very also entertaining to listen to. So if you'd like to get tickets or you want to sponsor a table, go to our website, pji.org. That's an easy way to get the information, pji.org. Now, let's take a look at this trending viral video.
Does society need men?
No.
Why not?
Women can reproduce without them.
You can reproduce without
Really?
them?
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little?
I know you can use like our bone marrow to reproduce and then have it inseminated into us.
There's
instead
a
of
much
men.
easier way of doing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the first time I've heard of that. But
Yeah.
maybe.
Folks, that's a little disturbing to see our society that twisted, that we are actually that independent and rebellious of the laws of nature and nature's God and our creator. I mean, the idea that someone would want to have a bone marrow transplant procedure to be able to have a baby without having a man, that shows that we have a real twisted society. The fact is, God made us male and female, and he made us so that we need each other. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Yet Satan loves to destroy and twist that which God says is good. And we see it so much. And we see it invade the concept of procreation itself and the zeal and desire to rebel against what God has given us to such great extremes that we're willing to actually think about paying bucks, money to have a surgical procedure just to keep men out of the picture. We've come a long way, baby, and not in the right direction. Now, Newsmax just published an article recently addressing how Olympians, not just any Olympians, but specifically Olympians from the United States of America, representing the United States of America, have been exposing themselves partially naked, totally naked, on a website. And it's not just an isolated situation. This is something that Olympians are doing around the world, but I specifically focus on the United States because this should be an alarm to everyone. In the past, Olympians were looked upon in a positive way as positive representatives of what the United States stands for. And yet they are now engaging in activity that it brings shame and disgrace, not just upon them and what they stand for, but upon our nation and what we stand for. And this should be a concern to all of us who take pride in the United States of America, especially around the Olympic time. Well, we in the United States definitely do have our battles, without question. And we at Pacific Justice Institute have over 260 cases in active litigation coast to coast. But one of them in particular I find intriguing. It's coming out of the state of Oregon. Our attorney, Ray Hackey, is involved in a major case there in Oregon, and it's dealing with the ability for Christian families, for a Christian couple, to be able to adopt or have children who are foster children. And the reason they're not allowed to, it's because of their faith. I'd like to now welcome to the program attorney Ray Hackey. Ray, welcome to the show. Tell me, does it feel like the traditional family values are being targeted harder than ever before when we look at this case?
Well, the state has a requirement that foster parents provide affirming care to LGBT children. Affirming means, if a boy self-identifies as a girl or vice versa, they have to use that child's pronouns. They have to use that, they have to let that child dress the way they want to dress. That's their quote unquote gender expression. And so my clients, Sean and Teresa Kellum, were not willing to do that. They believe that the Bible prohibits that. And you know, they're not going to tell a boy that he's a girl or a girl that that she's a boy. They're going to, they believe to do that causes children to go down a very bad path. And they believe what the Bible says in Matthew 18:6 about causing children to stumble, that it would be better for a millstone to be thrown around a person's neck and that person to be drowned in the depths of the sea. They don't want to do that. They want to speak the truth in love. They want to be able to take care of children in a manner that is consistent with their faith. And the law on the books allows Christian foster parents to do that very thing.
Now, why would the state of Oregon deny Christians the right to participate in foster care?
Well, during the administrative hearing at the very beginning of this case, the Oregon Department of Human Services brought in the head of Oregon's Dornbecker Children's Center to actually testify about the psychology of LGBT children. And, they talked about caregiver rejection and the nasty effects it has on that. And the administrative law judge found that persuasive. However, I think there are studies that show, more recent studies that show that if a child transitions from boy to girl or girl to boy, not that they actually can transition, but, if they start taking the hormones and start living it as the opposite sex, they're more likely to kill themselves. They're more likely to, in fact, they're 12 times more likely to kill themselves. So, so affirming this can actually have harmful consequences. And unfortunately, the courts here in the state of Oregon don't quite see that yet.
Okay, so Ray, is it actually true that LGBTQ youth are more likely to harm themselves if they have a loving Christian couple overseeing them, taking care of them?
Well, the state of Oregon seems to think that Christian teachings are dangerous to kids, and nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the Supreme Court recognized in the case that made same-sex marriage legal nationwide that many people who believe same-sex marriage to be wrong do so based on, and I quote, decent and honorable religious and philosophical premises. So, decent and honorable. Let's focus on those two words. Okay, these people aren't hate mongers. Okay, they don't. They want to treat LGBT people, children especially, with dignity and kindness and compassion. They don't. They share the state's concerns. They don't want to see LGBT kids harm themselves, but they also don't want to send kids down a self-destructive path either, one that could lead to self-harm, because affirming this behavior doesn't necessarily help them. In fact, there's court cases out there that say that show that children don't always make the best decisions for themselves. That's why they need adult guidance. They need it's not the adult's job to just rubber stamp whatever the child wants. Boom, here you go, have a nice day. The child there's a reason why the child needs guidance. um, a, an adult needs to be able to steer the child in the right direction, and not just let the child do whatever he or she wants.
There's a lot of people frustrated when they hear about things like this. How can the audience get involved in this kind of a matter and support the work of PJI?
Well, for starters, donate to PJI. We're going to be, I can easily see this organization devoting a lot of resources to this issue in the future. We're already starting to, as you can see, but, a lot of, there are a lot of families out there that don't have the funds to hire a lawyer and go after the state And the state is a pretty powerful entity. It's got teams of people on its side. It's got a large war chest of taxpayer dollars that it can use. And so PJI, we're a growing organization, but we're still a small organization. And so in order to be able to take on the Goliath that is the state, we need some rocks to put in our slingshot, and that certainly helps in the form of dollars that help us pay legal fees for these kinds of families, hire experts, even perhaps even bring new attorneys on board who can handle a large workload.
Ray, I know we like to empower parents out there. What resources do we have at pji.org that could really help empower parents addressing issues like these?
Well, they can reach out to PJI through the Pacific Justice Institute through our website, pacificjustice.org. They have a tab up there that says request assistance or something to that effect. So if they need help, we have a number of attorneys across the nation. I'm based in Oregon, but we've got people in California, Washington, Nevada, Colorado, Texas, Illinois. I mean, Florida. I could probably sit here for a long time. I don't name all the states. Might even miss a few, but we've got attorneys in a number of states. So whichever attorney happens to be in your region and is probably the best one to reach out to, or in your region, in your specific region or state. And if there's not an attorney in your state, we'll certainly work with you to try to find one who is, because PJI also has a network of affiliate attorneys, people who aren't necessarily on our staff, but who certainly help us out in the instance that something comes up in a case where we don't have an office or and that sort of thing.
Well, Ray, thank you very much for the work that you're doing. I know we're going to watch this very, very carefully, and keep up the great work. Now, another sensitive issue we're handling all the time at PJI is protecting the preborn from being aborted. And we have someone right now to welcome to the program to talk about this, Christine Jurgen. She has a podcast called Speak Out, and that's exactly what she does, and it's what she's going to do with us right now, addressing this very important issue. Christine, tell me, how'd you get involved in the pro-life movement?
Oh gosh. So when I was 20 years old, I had my own unplanned pregnancy. And I had always thought that abortion was wrong. I didn't really even know what abortion was. I didn't know anything about it. I was just like, oh, yeah, that's wrong. Some people do it, but it's not a good thing. So when I was kind of faced with this situation on my own, being in an unplanned pregnancy, it was like, oh, okay, you think this is wrong. You don't really know why. Let's you see if you're going to be walking these beliefs out. And I had an ultrasound and I heard my son's heartbeat. And when I heard his heartbeat, I kind of was like, that's a totally different life. Like, that is not my life. That's not my heartbeat. And that is not my life to take. And so it really just kind of solidified that. And I always say it's, you think you know what you would do in those shoes, but like really being in those shoes, there's a lot more that goes on in your head. And, you have a lot of emotions going through your body and you're like, what am I going to choose? What am I going to choose? But I heard his heartbeat. I was like, his life is not mine to take. And I always felt God kind of pulling me to share my story. But for those of you who don't know, it's a little bit controversial to talk about this issue these days. Either people are going to love you or they're going to hate you. There's really no middle ground on this issue. So I dragged my feet. I was like, nope, I hear you, God, but I'm not doing it. Don't want to talk about it. And I slowly kind of started dabbling in it and I started sharing on social media is really kind of where I started voicing my opinion publicly and sharing about the life issue. And I had a mom who reached out to me based on my social media posts. And she said, I want you to know I had a abortion scheduled this morning and I prayed to God for help. I didn't know what to do. It was in the midst of COVID. Her husband had lost his job. They were living with her parents, didn't know how they're going to make ends meet, already had a child. They weren't married. And so it was kind of like all these things that she felt were stacked against her. She said, when I saw your post, I knew that was a sign from God to cancel my abortion appointment. So for me, I was kind of like, okay, Okay, I hear you. I will continue down this path. I will continue sharing this message and being there for moms. And then we kind of jumped in and helped that mom. And all of my followers on social media did a baby shower for her. And we bought all of the tangible items that she needed to start off motherhood on the right foot.
What practices are happening right now in our society that are leading women to have an abortion?
Yeah, gosh, there's so many. I'd say one of the biggest ones that I'm seeing right now, the biggest reason that women choose abortion is financial pressure. That's number one. But outside of that, I find so much demonization of motherhood, of children, of babies. You have people who call them crotch goblins, and you can't climb the corporate ladder if you have a baby. You can't have your dreams and your baby. You have to sacrifice your baby for your dreams. And they kind of just demonize it. So women walk into, maybe if they're in an unplanned pregnancy, thinking that they can't do it. This child is going to ruin my life. And then outside of that, we also have young girls who are in comprehensive sex ed classes across the country who are learning that they should be sexually promiscuous, that it's not an issue. They're learning when to um, uh, be, or how to be sexually active. They're learning different ways to do things. I had a woman named Monica Klein, who is a comprehensive sex ed, or was teacher for 10 years. And they're basically pushing them, suggesting that being sexually active at 10 years old is normal, like that's what they should be doing. And they're looking around the classroom with all these other kids thinking, well, they must be doing it. So I see a hypersexualized society. I see the demonization of motherhood, the demonization of children, and us women being told that we're going to ruin our lives if we have kids, which is such a load of what. And I cannot tell you how beautiful motherhood actually is. Is it hard? Sure. But is your job hard? Probably. Everybody has hard days, right? Everybody's got a bad day on the job. Everybody has difficult things in life. Motherhood is no different than that. Nobody's saying your life is going to be perfect if you have children, but I promise you it is so much more beautiful and fulfilling when you do.
Now, I know the government's supposed to be about caring for those in need. What resources does the government provide women who are in need of different kinds of resources to help them keep their children, help them keep their baby?
You know, I mean, there's the bare minimum. There's the basic things like WIC and welfare and things like that that can help, but you have to make a certain amount and it's time consuming. I mean, the government, you go to the DMV, it takes all day long to even get a driver's license photo. Anything with the government is time consuming and exhausting. And when you're in the situation of maybe you're being pressured to have an abortion, the government is not going to come in and swoop in and save you and ease your every need, unfortunately, which is why we need to be doing it as our families. It needs to go to our churches, need to be stepping up and stepping in. Pastors need to be making sure that their churches have resources for these women, and then our communities. But we have pregnancy resource centers, over 3,000 of them all over the country, that are kind of stepping into this role and helping women. The government, you know, they say they care about us, but do they really? It's really the people who are pro-life saying, hey, we want to love you. We want to love your baby too. It's both of you that we care about, who are really stepping in and making sure that these women feel comforted, that they have the resources that they need, whether that's, like I said, all of the tangible items, or whether that's a roof over their head or a job or daycare. I mean, we help with those resources and we walk alongside these women as long as they need us to.
Now, doesn't the state give young mothers the resources they need to be able to keep and care for their baby?
It's really dark with the government wanting this to be something. I mean, you can look at the current election cycle. It's all you're hearing about, especially on the left. You're hearing abortion, abortion, my body, my choice, women's rights. That's literally the platform for the left right now, which is really frustrating. But I would encourage people to look at who's funding them. Look at who is in the pockets of the politicians. I find it hard to believe you have to be a really dark person to be able to dismember a baby, to be able to stick a needle into a baby and induce a heart attack, or to be able to starve a baby via the abortion pill. There's 3 different types of abortion. You have to be really dark to be able to do that. And I find it hard to believe that even those who are pro-abortion could sit there and watch that and be okay with it. Out of sight, out of mind. If it's behind a doctor's door, they don't have to think about it as much, but if they had to watch it, I don't think that they would be okay with it. Planned Parenthood knows what they do. They know what they're doing, and they are funding these politicians. They're funding their campaigns, and they're making sure that their message is being spread by those who are running for office. And it's really sad that we see Planned Parenthood basically running the left and being a pro-abortion party.
Whoa, so why would the government want to encourage young women to to have abortions, right? So why would the government want to support girls having abortions? Okay, so why would the government want to encourage girls and women to have an abortion?
Sometimes all a young woman needs to hear is, I'm here for you. How can I help? That is one of the most powerful sentences you can say to a woman in these shoes. And you don't ever know who this woman is going to be. Maybe you meet her in an elevator. Maybe she's in a classroom. Maybe she's on your college campus. Maybe you work with her. I'm here for you. How can I help? Because the fears are real sometimes when you're in these shoes. Maybe you have a partner who is pressuring you to have an abortion, or an abusive partner, or you can't feed the 3 kids who are at your house already. You don't know how you're going to have a 4th child. There's a lot of emotions that go along with having an unplanned pregnancy sometimes, and even excitement. Sometimes there's excitement mixed in with all of that, and how confusing to be, excited but scared and nervous and uncertain. So I think really the biggest thing is knowing what resources are available, letting these women know that you'll walk alongside them. It's time consuming sometimes to be on the side of life, because we're the ones who go and help find these resources. We say, hey, I'll take you to lunch and I'm going to show you everything that's available. I've educated myself to know what's available in my area so that then I can help a woman when she comes alongside me. And that is so, so important that we know what's around us, what resources there are, what pregnancy centers there are. People like Let Them Live is an organization that's phenomenal, and they have helped cover women's rent. They have gotten cars for them, all sorts of things. Just to know about these resources and be able to pour into these women, I think is one of the biggest ways that we can help. And just being there for them. I mean, it takes no effort to say, hey, there's an abortion clinic around the street. I mean, it's so easy to be pro-abortion. Hey, go handle it. That's a problem. Like, go take care of it. I don't have to do anything. I can still lay on my couch and watch whatever series I'm watching. But we, on the other hand, say we value you and we value that unborn baby in your life. So we're here to help.
Christine, thank you so much for being on the program, and keep up the great work on your podcast, Speak Out. God bless. Well, folks, we at Pacific Justice Institute, we're here to help. We're here to serve. So if you have an issue involving religious freedom, parents' rights, or the sanctity of human life, don't hesitate to contact us. You can go straight to our website, pji.org. And there's a button there to press if you need help. You can keep up with what's going on. We can provide you resources. We can provide you assistance, maybe even legal representation if needed, all without charge. Just go to pji.org. Now, you may have contacted another organization, and they may have said, we're not interested in this case. It's not big enough. It's not pretty enough. It's not going to be a big precedent-setting case. Whatever reason they give you, still don't hesitate to contact us, because one thing that makes us unique at PJI is we work hard to make sure that everyone gets help, that no one is left on the side of the road when it comes to these basic areas of religious freedom, parents' rights against the government, the sanctity of human life. So don't hesitate to contact us. We're here to help. Now, let's take a look at what God's Word says about our attitude in dealing with these kinds of issues. First, Isaiah 40:31. It says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." The fact is, if we just look about what's happening around us, it's so easy to get discouraged. And with discouragement becomes a lack of hope and a lack of desire to get involved and to do anything. The fact is, we should always be encouraged because our God sees everything. He knows our needs. He knows your needs personally. He knows the need of your family. He knows the needs of on the job, at school. He knows the needs of America and the world. So don't be discouraged. Don't get depressed. Wait on the Lord. Be obedient. Do what God wants you to do. Take the next step, as they say. And yet at the same time, be ready and willing to sometimes wait on the Lord and see what He's going to do, knowing that we can trust Him always. Proverbs 31:8 and 9 says, "Open your mouth for the speechless. In the cause of all who are appointed to die, open your mouth, judge righteously, and plead the cause of the poor and needy." Boy, I don't know about you, but when I read this, this is such a direct exhortation for us not to be silent about the innocent who are going to be killed. That is the preborn, not just dozens. Folks, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, a genocidal capacity, if you will, a Holocaust level of preborn babies in just the United States alone being snuffed out, killed in a very torturesome, painful way. And yet they are the most innocent and they are the most vulnerable. And we need to speak out. We can't be speechless. We need to speak up. And one way of speaking up is to vote. Vote for those who can't vote. Vote for those who can't speak up for themselves. And remember that this election, whether you're voting for someone at the school board level or at the president level, make sure that we're voting for those who will also speak out and speak up for those who can't speak up for themselves. And with that, no matter what we face, folks, no matter how great the challenges, always, always keep the faith.